lighting an antique coal stove. We're over here by the Penn Franklin anthracite coal stove. We're going to light this up, and I'm going to show you a way that I haven't seen anywhere else on the internet. It's a combination of a couple of common methods for lighting a stove that are out there, but I kind of put them together and thought this up, so I hope you enjoy it. Here's what you're about to see. So for the first 5 minutes, we're going to fill and light this. Then it runs for about 30 minutes. Then you'll top it off. Then you'll run it for another 30 minutes or so, and then set the dampers. Kind of depends on how the draft's going and how well the fire is establishing itself. But this is a real low-muss way to begin. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the first step of what I'm going to do. So this method uses a can, actually, to begin. My can is about that size. I've taken the top and bottom off of it. I'm going to shove some paper, packing paper, in the bottom of the can here. And then I'm going to use charcoal briquettes to light the coal itself. Now, I'm filling up the can with the briquettes. I know some people don't like briquettes. They like lump coal, but the briquettes work for me. What we're creating is a chimney, basically like you would get when you were lighting a grill. And this is going to allow us to load coal around the can and then have airflow moving up through the center of the fire while we're burning to the coal. So I'll show you that out back in the kitchen. I have my briquettes in my can with my paper at the bottom, and I'm going to place this inside the stove. Now before I do that, I'm going to open up my dampers just to make sure that I've got them open. So open up the damper on the pipe. This has a downdraft, so I'm going to put that in direct draft. Open my door, open up the primaries, and open up the quick starts. You see inside there's the fire pot, and there's this nice flat little area where I'm going to put the can. And now what I'll do is the can's going to sit there, and I'm going to load the coal up around it. So I'll go ahead and start that and come on back and show you what I've done. The neat thing about this method is you load almost all the coal into the fire pot before you light it. So if you take a look here, you see I've got my charcoal inside the can, the paper is underneath, and the coal is mounded up kind of around the outside of the can. That'll be important later. So first I'm going to remove my can. All right, making sure to leave the charcoal as undisturbed as possible. Now I've basically got a shaft of charcoal running up from the bottom of the fire pot to the top of the coal. And what this is going to allow me to do is draft air up through the stove here. I'm going to take a little bit of kerosene, pour that on top of the charcoal, not too much. And now I'll go ahead and light it from underneath. All right, as you see, it's beginning to go already. While that heats up a little bit, I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on. This diagram should help explain it. It was hard to see inside the fire pot. So you see we've got charcoal in a shaft, coal on either side. The coal is mounted up on either side of the charcoal, paper underneath that I light. As the charcoal and the paper burn down, the coal is going to feed itself from the top to fill the space left by the charcoal. This is a little bit easier with nut coal as opposed to maybe something larger like stove, but it's a pretty neat self-feeding mechanism. So this now is rolling along pretty nicely, and what I'm going to do, it's already, you hear the snapping and the crackling of the coal. I'm going to open this up and throw just a little bit of coal on top, and I'm going to let this go for a few minutes or so. We'll see. Depends on the draft, how long we'll let that go. But we'll let that catch nice and good, and it'll kind of rock it up through the middle there. So we'll let that run for a while, and after this, we're just going to load it up. So we'll come back in a few minutes. We've been running at about 20 minutes here, and that coal has been feeding itself down on top of the charcoal as it burns down. So basically now what I'm going to do is kind of top this thing off. I'm going to try and leave a little bit of flame if I can. So I'm just really going to mound up around the edges here of some coal. Make sure I don't get it into the corner. And throw some over here, and then over there. And so I still see flame, that's great. And this should be ready to rock now. So I'm going to run this with the draft open. A little bit more down here. I'm going to run this with the draft open. Probably for about 20 minutes or so, till it's nicely established, and then we'll set all the dampers, and then we'll be done. So we'll check back in a moment. So there you saw the coal sort of sliding down into the center just there. I don't know if you maybe heard it shift, but there it is. That charcoal is burning it down and the coal is feeding itself in on top. It's about 30 minutes since we last checked in, and if we take a look inside, blue ladies are dancing. There we go. So this fire is well established now. I'm going to go ahead, close up the doors, set the dampers. I've got the primary down here. Close that up. Almost entirely closed. There we go. I've got a downdraft damper on this, which is pretty neat. Almost like a base burner. And then I'm going to set the pipe damper to about there. And I won't need to touch this again for about 12 hours when I recoal it before bed. So again, I think this is a pretty neat method for lighting a coal stove. Haven't seen it before. This method works for me, works for my antique stove, may not work for everybody. Again, this isn't a tutorial on how to run a stove like this, didn't talk a lot about safety or the other features of this particular anthracite stove. If you'd like to learn more about the stove, or a tutorial of how I run the stove, please go ahead and comment below, and we'll see if that's a video everybody is interested in. Thanks again for watching. Hope you found this helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give us a like and subscribe as well. Thank you very much.